And then I says to him, that chestnut ink belongs in a museum. Oh,
I have arrived from the future of tabletop hobby painting with a delivery. Vallejo has created the ultimate set of paints.
it's tabletop time! I'm Murray. And there's some other people here with me today. However, it's all about this paint. I'm going to be doubling and diving into some new Vallejo ranges. And I'm going to have some help with some other people with me.
You smell nice.
Thank you. We're gonna get into it. Let's go.
And I think that's literally it. There's something in that for sure.
So what is the new Vallejo range? The new Vallejo range not only is a redesign, but also new bottles for their game color range. But as well as that, and of particular interest to us in this video, we have the new Express range of paints, which are likened to Citadel's Contrast for their ability to allow you to quickly paint an army. We'll be putting that to the test today.
Vallejo has always supported us, and basically all our work has been held up by their support. This isn't sponsored. They've sent this all to us out of the goodness of their hearts, and we want to both show off their new paints and also be honest in what we think about them.
Yeah, you can send me all the free stuff you want, but if it sucks, I'm gonna tear it a new one.
And then continue to use it.
Yeah, probably. All right, well, we know what the product is. Let's get down to using it.
Woo! Welcome to prime time. Bonjour, it is me, your waiter. Your minis are done? They are primed? Yes? Done. You feel. Mwah. Mwah.
So when getting to grips with any new sort of paint product, it's a really good idea to just have a muck around. So I got a whole bunch of blues together because I wanted to test how each of them went down, see if the color saturation was similar, see if the consistency was similar, and just feel out how they went on a mini. So with the test model, I just wanted to put the Express range paints directly onto the model. Murray, you had primed it in grey and white.
Yes, also from Vallejo. We went with a fairly light grey and then white over the top.
Quite close to how Citadel would advise you to do their sort of one thick coat contrast method.
Yeah.
Overall, my experience with this was varied. I found that it worked, but the color saturation wasn't as strong as with contrast, which immediately made me realize that there would be far more interesting and technical ways to use this paint. So, with my dabble having served its purpose, I was pretty ready to share my thoughts with Murray, but also move on to painting the next couple of models properly.
For my dabble, I've gone for, admittedly, a slightly larger figure, but something with texture. I really wanted to see how this all flows onto the model. It goes on really nicely. However, I have to admit to sort of failing this test myself because this is a resin model and I didn't wash it properly. So if you see any weird patches happening, I'm going to admit that's my fault, not the paints. Anyway, so I've tried the different browns and just sort of putting them around on the fur, and it looks really good. You have a lot more control, especially around on the muzzle. I'm just pushing it around. It's easily manipulated around the model. I couldn't leave this dark turquoise Express paint alone. I just love the color sitting in that bottle, and it just came out exactly as it looked, and it's beautiful. I love it, and I put it on the entire model. But to try and tone it down a little bit, I did put a black Express paint over the top of it. The black was a lot softer than I thought it would be, so I actually ended up putting 2 coats of black over it. All right, Murray, we've done our little dabble.
I think it was really important to get an idea of how the paint flowed on the model, and I feel comfortable with it now, but I'm definitely changing my tune.
So I've gone for texture. It's a bigger model, but I've gone to try texture.
Yes, okay, and I went for slap paint on model to just see how it ran in areas. So that's
a
all
classic
I've done.
approach. I like it.
I think from my gut feeling that this is going to require a little bit more finesse. So I'm going to go into my next couple, and I'm going to do the full underpainting slap chop with dry brushing, highlights, and really see what we can do with the subtlety of it. The pigment isn't crazy strong. I don't know. So
yeah, Contrast has gone for the everything in one coat and you're done. This has got a lot more of a measured, it's more of a wash or a glaze, so you're not immediately going to get the same effect. A few layers and you'll get something really nice with this though.
Let's see what we can do.
All right, so it's time for me to actually see what express paints could do. And I realized as they had a bit more finesse to them, I wanted to actually undercoat all my models a bit differently. So I sprayed them with a charcoal gray, then a mid gray, and then zenithal from above with a light gray. I then came in with a pure white dry brush, much like the slap chop method, and dry brush from above before getting a layer brush and just point highlighting some spots in white. Now, the reason I went into this with detail is you'll see how this method really showcases the Express Ranger's ability to subtly tint a model beautifully. Now, experimenting with these paints and putting them all down, I found that their consistency was super reliable, and altogether with the underpainting technique, I was very, very happy with this. Not even needing to come back with any fine highlighting or anything like that, the total finished results were looking really cool.
Yeah, I will say that I've noticed that with contrast, you put it down and you get this sort of flat tone across everything with the highlights popping out through the very edges. This has a lot more of a gradual gradient, so when you've applied the slap chop method, it's become even more staggered and pronounced, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, I'm super happy with how it turned out, and I effectively just went on and did the same methods with my other two models. Of note though was with this corporate lady, I actually mixed some of their Express Range medium with one of the yellows, and it made a fantastic blonde. So overall, I just went through and I used a bunch of different colors, and my findings were universal. They're incredibly consistent. They all feel like you're putting on the same paint. There's no unexpected surprises with pigmentation or anything like that. The only color I find for me wasn't that satisfying was in fact the black, which goes on with a really strong blue tone. So if you're trying to paint Vindicare Assassin bodysuits, this is probably the best paint ever made. But if you're trying to get that one thick coat black effect like Citadel's Black Templar, it's not going to do it for you.
Yeah, amusingly, I found the black would really nice to tone down the other colors you've already put on, so interesting. I finished my dabble, my little bear, and it's time to move on to something a bit more serious. One of the biggest parts of the contrast range is yellow and red, which Games Workshop has just come up with a very strong, it's a Baal red and Imperial Fist yellow, I think it was, the one that goes on real strong. So I'm gonna see how these match up and what uses we can have for red and yellow. So it's my turn to dive into the Cyberpunk miniatures, and I'm going for yellow, as this guy kind of looks like an engineer. And I think yellow and red particularly are two colors that people are most interested in for contrast style paints, because they're the ones that are usually the trickiest pigment-wise. So you can see here that I'm actually using the black Express paint here, going on fairly heavily, and just as in the slap chop method video, I'm adding the turquoise paint, my favorite one in this range so far, to the metal, just to give it a bit more life and vibrance. Here you can see that I've just gone ahead and I'm using two active paints, so they're both wet, and I've spilled black on yellow. Usually this would be an absolute tragedy, but I've just dabbed it away with a clean wet brush and boom, black. The black is gone off the yellow. You'd never know. So basically with this figure, the entire center point is going to be her jacket. I'm going to wet blend from an orange down to a purple, and I'm going to see how that looks. For my final figure, it is not a cyberpunk miniature. It's a little knife-throwing rabbit assassin.
This would be from Titan Forge Miniatures.
As you said, I was wondering where it came from. I just found it and I thought I must paint this. And I just wanted to do a lovely orange paint job, mostly because the miniature was already an orange. Maybe that was my inspiration. The plastic was orange. And I've just gone with more wet blending, as this has an even larger surface area to play with, to see how it works on, again, a larger flat area, which is usually where contrast suffers a bit. So I'd already seen Dave thin down his yellow paint for the hair with the Express Medium, and I decided to do the same with the skin tone, and this got me this really nice soft pastel colour for rabbit colour. It looks really nice. It's very soft and cartoon comic book for a child. I like it.
Alright, so we've had some time to get to grips with the paint, but it would be remiss of us to just have our opinions. So I'm going to nab Jen and Jazza and see if they can paint up a mini for us.
Jen! Okay, so Murray and I have been working with the new Vallejo paints, but we thought it was time that you gave it a crack so we can get a big group opinion. I thought the perfect model is you can paint yourself.
Wow, that's not meta at all, is it?
Have fun!
Yay! In some of the previous videos, you guys probably know that I love highly saturated colors, and this mini of me, it needed to be pink, everything had to be pink aside from the armor, which I decided to try and see if I could get metal to look good with a wash without using a metallic. And I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. I even tried a bit of wet blending on the skirt section, which actually worked really well. I loved using these paints, honestly. I found that contrast can sometimes come out a bit patchy, but these Vallejo paints, they blended really nicely together. The fact that I could look at the bottle and knew exactly what color was going to come out of it is just a huge help.
Yeah, like if you ever use a marker or a paint or whatever where the color on the lid is marginally, fractionally a different hue, it's so frustrating.
And to be fair and completely honest, it's been one of the little problems with the Vallejo range is they have those slightly opaque bottles on their game color, but they've changed that. So now they're clear. So it's super good.
Tell them to cancel my Wednesday. Oh, and Rob, can you give me more Twitter stock? Yeah, how can I help you?
I know you're super busy, but I'm pretty sure you had put on your schedule that you could paint a mini.
Did I? Yeah. Very full schedule, but you know what? I did say that, didn't I? And I think there's always a little bit of time for a hobby. Let's go. Double the Twitter stock. I swear, it's going to go through the f***ing roof. Ooh, what?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is the middle of the other
So maybe
video
we should
that just came out.
film
This
that.
video came out last week?
What?
No, this is this video. Sorry, I'm distracted because I'm thinking about cereal.
So do we want to pretend that this isn't happening?
Yes. Billy, can you edit the mess out of this room, please? Thank you.
So Jazza, you have made some time in your schedule to paint a special model. Now, I 3D scanned Gareth's face. He's leaving us in 2 days is his last day from filming.
And I could have opted for easier, like a little furry forest creature, because I'm pretty short on time. But you know what? Gareth's leaving us soon, and I want to give him a parting gift. I wanted to be the one, selfishly, to paint the Gareth. What? He's from the.
Kill Team Road Trader.
I wanted to selfishly be the one to paint Gareth's Kill Team Rogue Trader model. There's a little parting gift from Tabletop time. I didn't want to rush this. I wanted to be a nice present that he'd really enjoy receiving. The first present I got as a mini receiver was yours, Dave. You made the towel teller. And it was so touching and it was so nice and it looked like something you cared about making. And I love that.
It was so fun.
But it goes to show that like, it's a meaningful present, and I wanted it to feel like that for Gareth. I didn't want to rush it. So honestly, even so, these paints really did make the process really easy. Like, yes, of course, Vallejo sent them to us, so we're inclined to like free stuff, but I've used contrast, I've used Army Painter Speed Paint. I prefer this for sure, because it does feel like a painter's quick paint. By the time I just did a base coat of all the general colors, I started to go in with a bit more layering. I experimented with metallic, so I just put down a metallic, silver in areas and gold in some others, and then came back with the express paints to add like a blue tint to the silvers and a reddish orange tint to the golds. And I thought that really worked. I thought it was really cool. And then honestly, just going in with one extra coat of the same brown that I painted the coat in, but just in the indented layers, just made it look really leathery and really strong. I feel like it wouldn't be fair to not show the moment of receipt. Let's show Gareth receiving Gareth.
The 3D scan of you.
That is, oh my god. No one's ever made something of my likeness before, apart from like a couple drawings here and there that you've done. But that's very, very cool.
Physical exact face.
Yeah,
Model, so
it's pretty accurate to my personality, really.
This was really fun to get to dive in and paint some models for, well, my Reboot Cyberpunk campaign on Tabletop Time Roleplay. And this also seems like a really good opportunity to say thank you. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting us. Your support allows us to put 2 videos out a week and keep making the content that we all love.
If you'd like to become a patron member as well, there's a link down in the description where you can join in our fun little community of hobby love. We have a fantastic community with mini reviews and just general sharing of our loves.
All right, Murray, so we've had some time to get dirty with these paints and that sounds weird. Do you want to try that?
We've had time to play around, dabble with the paints, dive with the paints, and we've met back up here to talk about our opinions at the end of the day.
Cool, so we've told you all about how they flow, how they work, and what they're like to use, but Murray, what would you say was your favorite thing about the paints?
Honestly, how soft they are, which is kind of weird when you're comparing them to contrast. Contrast goes on strong with these. They feel more like a wash or a glaze. Again, you put on a contrast, you get the hint of a highlight there. These are a lot more like an ink. They really go into the recesses and flow around.
I'd say something I really liked about the range is that they're all very consistent, and it's something I've had a problem with the contrast paints. Another thing I really like broadly about the whole brand change is actually the clear bottles, allowing me to see the exact color of the paint in. It's something really subtle I almost didn't realize about the Vallejo bottles is that they have that opacity and you didn't quite see accurately what the paint color was. This is a really positive change. It'll be really good to see Vallejo expand this range and get a few more colors, but I also have to say, for the price and in the dropper bottles, this is a very strong contender to enter the market, and I'd say for new hobbyists, pretty comprehensive range. Hey, thank you very much.
Clapsing that.
All right, Jen, Jazza, what did you think? Quick thoughts.
I think they're amazing, really vibrant, and I would absolutely use them again.
If you make anything that has express in the name and deliver on that, I'm a happy, happy boy.
Well, that's pretty much it. If you like, well, I don't know where to go from there. That's pretty much it.